Welcome back to Why Walking Matters, the Science Explained, the podcast where we explore the science behind one of the simplest and most powerful things you can do for your health: walk. Before we get into today's topic, I want to tell you about someone I'll call Lisa. A few years ago, Lisa decided she needed to get healthier. She was in her late 40s, working a desk job, spending most of her day sitting, and feeling tired more often than she liked. Her doctor suggested that increasing her physical activity could help. Lisa agreed in theory. In practice, though, she felt stuck. She thought exercise meant joining a gym, expensive workout clothes, keeping up with people who seemed fitter, faster, and more confident than she was. Most of all, she believed she needed to lose weight before she could become a person who exercises. So she waited. She told herself she'd start when she felt more comfortable, when she lost a few pounds, when she had more energy, when life became less busy. Weeks turned into months, months turned into years, and then one afternoon, while cleaning out a closet, Lisa found an old pair of walking shoes. Nothing fancy, not expensive, just a comfortable pair of sneakers she hadn't worn in a long time. The next morning, she decided to walk to the end of her street and back. That's it. Not a mile, not 10,000 steps, not a fitness challenge, just to the end of the street and back. When she got home, she looked at her fitness tracker. 7 minutes. She laughed. 7 minutes hardly seemed worth counting. But the next day, she did it again. And the day after that, a week later, she was walking 10 minutes. A month later, she was walking 20. 3 months later, Lisa was taking regular walks around a nearby park. What surprised her wasn't the weight loss. In fact, the scale barely changed during those first few months. What surprised her was everything else. She slept better, her mood improved, the afternoon energy crashes became less frequent. She found herself looking forward to her walks. The stairs at work didn't leave her breathless anymore. Her stress felt more manageable. And for the first time in years, she felt capable. One day, while talking with a friend, Lisa mentioned that she'd become a walker. The words came out naturally, and then she stopped because she realized something. She had spent years believing she needed to lose weight before she could call herself a walker. But walking wasn't the reward for getting healthier. Walking was part of how she became healthier. She had it backward all along. And I think a lot of people do. We convince ourselves that health belongs to a future version of us. That version is lighter, faster, stronger, more confident. But the truth is that health begins with the actions we take today, not when we reach our goal or when we look different, but today. That's what today's episode is about. What the science says about walking at every pace, every size, and every stage of life. and why you don't need to become someone else before you can start benefiting from one of the most powerful forms of exercise available. Today's episode is called Walking at Every Pace. Notice I didn't say every size, I didn't say every age or every fitness level, because today's message is bigger than any one of those categories. Whether you're carrying extra weight, recovering from an injury, starting a fitness journey, returning after years of inactivity, or simply trying to stay healthy as you get older, the science points to the same conclusion: movement matters. And walking is one of the most accessible ways to get it. If you're listening right now and you've been thinking about starting a walking habit, I want you to hear this. You don't need to prove anything before you begin. You don't need to get into shape before you walk. You don't need special clothes, the perfect route, a fitness tracker, or a detailed plan. You don't need to be faster. You don't need to be smaller. You simply need to start where you are. And where you are today is enough. Many people hesitate to begin walking because they think they need to get into shape first. Maybe they're worried about how fast they walk. Maybe they're worried about how far they can go. Maybe they're worried they're too overweight, too old, too out of shape, or too far behind everyone else. But the research tells a very different story. The health benefits of physical activity begin long before you become fit. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, even a single session of moderate physical activity can improve sleep, reduce anxiety, and lower blood pressure. Regular activity reduces the risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, depression, dementia, and several forms of cancer. In other words, your body starts responding positively to movement almost immediately. Not after you've lost 20 pounds or reached 10,000 steps, or after you've completed your first 5K, right now. I know some listeners may be thinking, that sounds great, but I've started before. Maybe you've started walking 3 times, 10 times. Maybe you've had periods where you walked every day and then life happened. The schedule changed. A family member needed you. Work became overwhelming. Your motivation disappeared. If that's your story, I hope you'll stop viewing those experiences as failures. Every walk you've ever taken still mattered. Every walk taught you something, and every day offers another opportunity to begin again. Not from scratch, from experience. One of the biggest misconceptions about walking is that it only counts if it leads to weight loss. Weight loss can certainly happen when people begin walking regularly, but health improvements often arrive before significant changes on the scale. The CDC notes that physical activity improves brain health, strengthens bones and muscles, helps people perform everyday activities more easily, improves sleep, and reduces the risk of chronic disease, regardless of how quickly body weight changes. Think about that for a moment. If your blood pressure improves, your sleep improves, your mood improves, your energy improves, and climbing stairs becomes easier. That's real progress, even if the scale hasn't moved very much. So, if you've spent years fighting with the scale, this may be one of the most important things you hear today. Your worth is not measured in pounds, and your effort is not measured by the speed of your results. Sometimes our bodies change slowly. Sometimes they change in ways we can't immediately see. But every time you choose movement, you are doing something good for yourself, even when the evidence doesn't show up right away. Another important point is that health benefits don't require perfection. In fact, the CDC specifically states that adults who sit less and do any amount of moderate to vigorous physical activity gain health benefits, any amount. That's encouraging news for anyone who feels intimidated by fitness culture. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need special equipment. You don't need expensive gym memberships. You just need to move more than you did yesterday. Research also suggests that walking benefits people across a wide range of ages, body sizes, and fitness levels. A large study examining millions of activity records found that when people moved to more walkable environments, physical activity increased regardless of age, gender, or body mass index. The takeaway: walking works because it's adaptable. The pace that challenges one person may be easy for another, and that's okay. Walking isn't a competition, it's a tool. There are people listening to this podcast right now who are convinced they are too far gone, too out of shape, too old, too heavy, too inconsistent, too late. The science does not support that conclusion. And neither do the stories of countless people who started with 5-minute walks. What matters isn't where you begin. What matters is that you begin. So, what is the best advice for someone who wants to start walking but feels discouraged? First, forget about keeping up with anyone else. Your pace is your pace. One of the most common mistakes new walkers make is comparing their beginning to someone else's middle. The only comparison that matters is whether you're moving more than you were before. Second, focus on consistency. The CDC recommends at least 150 minutes of moderate activity each week, but you don't have to achieve that immediately. You can build toward it gradually. Even short walks provide benefits. Third, track more than weight. Pay attention to energy levels, sleep quality, mood, stamina, blood pressure, ease of daily activities, and confidence. These are often the first signs that walking is working. Fourth, make walking fit your life. Walk around your neighborhood, at a local park, during lunch, while listening to podcasts. Walk with a friend, walk with your dog. The best walking plan is the one you'll actually continue doing. One thing I appreciate about walking is that it meets people where they are. Some listeners may be walking a mile, Others may be walking 5 miles. Some may be walking with trekking poles. Some may be walking around the living room. Some may be walking slowly after surgery. Others may be training for a marathon. The beauty of walking is that everyone starts from a different place, but everyone benefits from moving forward. If you're waiting for confidence to arrive before you start walking, consider this. Confidence often comes after the first step, not before it. Most walkers don't wake up one day feeling motivated. They put on their shoes, they go outside, they walk anyway, like Lisa. And somewhere along the journey, confidence quietly catches up with them. Here's today's takeaway. You do not need to be fit to start walking. You do not need to be thin to benefit from walking. You do not need to walk fast. You do not need to hit a magic step count. Health is not reserved for people who have already reached their goal. Health is built through the small decisions we make every day. And one of the simplest decisions we can make is to put one foot in front of the other. No matter your age, size, or pace, because every pace is a walking pace. And that is why walking matters. So, if you've been thinking about starting, let this be your invitation. Not to walk 5 miles, not to transform your life overnight, or to become a different person by next month, just to take one walk. Maybe it's 5 minutes. Maybe it's to the end of the driveway. Maybe it's around the block. Maybe it's simply standing up and moving more than you did yesterday. That's enough. Because every experienced walker was once a beginner. Every healthy habit started with a single decision. And every journey begins with a first step. If today is your day to take that step, I'm cheering for you. And if you've already started, no matter how slowly you're moving, keep going. The path doesn't care how fast you travel. Progress is still progress, one step at a time, one walk at a time, one day at a time, and that is why walking matters. I hope this episode resonated with someone today. And if you're listening and you know someone who needs some encouragement getting up and getting out, be kind. Share this episode. Before we wrap up, listeners, I want to remind you about a special opportunity from a previous guest, Dr. Sandra Hamilton, also known as the Confidence Builder. If you're navigating menopause and looking for support, guidance, and a renewed sense of confidence, Dr. Hamilton is hosting a 4-day immersive menopause retreat designed to help women better understand the changes they're experiencing and create a path forward with greater clarity and empowerment. Dr. Hamilton combines her expertise as a rapid transformational therapist with practical tools and a supportive community to help women thrive during this stage of life. To learn more about the retreat and reserve your spot, visit drhtheconfidencebuilder.com. Once again, listeners, it's been my pleasure learning and talking with you today about the benefits of walking. If you're a new listener, welcome. If you're a loyal listener, welcome back. And remember, you can always share your walking story or topics for ideas on the podcast at whywalkingmatters.com. You can also check out my walking adventures at y_walking_matters on my Instagram page. Until next time, happy walking.